Podcast. I'm your host, Bruce Outridge, and today we are going to talk a little bit about March break because I know it's like now. so we're going to throw this out this week, and so just thought I'd touch base on March break. If you're planning on taking, it's a great time if you can do it. It's a great time to take your kids in the truck with you. My kids have been in the truck. My son went on a trip with me down east, Halifax way. Had a great time, really enjoyed it, and still have good memories of it. So it's a great time to bond, but there's some things you need to watch out for, and a lot of people don't do this. So I'm going to really caution you on this. The first thing that you have to do is get approval. Okay, so you do not just want to take people with you in the truck without anybody knowing that. So first thing you want to do is ask your company. Now, if you're an owner-operator, check your contract. Is there a rider policy on there? You should know this. And even if you have a rider policy and you can take people whenever you want, it is a good idea, especially if you're taking young children with you, to let the company know that you're going to have your kids with you, because things can happen at the border, which I'll get into in a minute. But the first thing you want to do is you want to get approval from your company to take somebody with you, because not all companies are made the same. Some have insurance riders, some don't. You do not want to just assume, because it can affect a lot of things. So the first thing you want to do is get approval from your company, okay? Make sure that they know that it's okay. Make sure that it's okay with them that you take someone in the truck. Realize that if you're taking kids in the truck, if they're crossing the border, you're going to, well, actually, it doesn't matter if they're crossing the border, but especially if they're crossing the border, you may need a letter from the other parent saying it's okay. We have a lot of kids being kidnapped these days. And there may be an age limit for the company, so you may want to check their insurance. They may not allow people under 16 or 18 or something like that. So make sure that you check that with people before you start taking family members with. So the first thing is approval with the company. The second thing is a letter, and I've had to do this before with mine, so make sure you have a letter so that they know where you're going to be. And then make sure if you're taking young kids with you that you establish some boundaries. So this is one of the things that's really important to do, but people don't necessarily always think about it. It's not a free-for-all on the road, right? It just takes somebody to hit a switch, hit a button, something that could make things go haywire. So you want to really make sure they understand where they're allowed to be in the truck, where they're not allowed to be in the truck, and what happens when you get out to fuel, what happens when you go to the restaurants, what happens when you you're going to run on and they're going to go to bed, all those kind of things. I'll tell you one incident that used to happen with me. My son, when he came with me, I had a big Freightliner at the time, and it had a double bunk in it. So it had a bunk on the bottom and a bunk at the top. And the top one usually was folded up because I ran on by myself all the time. But when he was there, he always wanted to sleep. He wanted to sleep in the top bunk. And he must have bugged me the whole trip. He said, "Dad, I want to sleep in the top bunk." And I said, "Kyle, you're not gonna be able to sleep there." I said, "You're gonna fall out of there, and I know they got seatbelts and all that, but I said I don't feel comfortable with you up there." So I said, while we're rolling, if I'm still driving and you want to go to sleep, just go to sleep on the bottom bunk, and you'll be fine. And then I'll sleep in the top bunk whenever I stop. So this went on for a week. We were on like a week-long trip. This went on for a whole week, and finally we got to a night where we were both stopping and going to bed at the same time. And I said, okay, you can sleep on the top bunk. I was still a little nervous about it, but you know what? So you got to remember, he was probably about, I don't know, 6 or, he might have been around 10 that time, I guess. I'm not sure. No, maybe before that. He might have actually only been about 6. So anyway, he was, he's probably around 6 at that time. So anyway, he wanted to stay in this bunk, and I kept saying no. All week I said no, and finally I say yes. And the first thing he said to me is, "I don't want to sleep there. I might fall out." So it worked against him. But anyway, we did have rules. If I want to take a nap during the day, doors had to be locked. You wasn't allowed to touch anything on the dash, all kinds of stuff. He made out like a bandit. You take a 6-year-old into a truck stop, and man, the waitresses were bringing candy and all kinds of stuff out. And it was a really good experience for both of us. We both really enjoyed that time on the road. So I would urge you to try and do this if you can, but do it smart. Don't just take people and not tell anybody. You got to think of the longer term too, right? If there's an accident or something happens, you don't want them searching thinking that there's a single driver in that truck, and then find out that you have your kids with you or something like that. So you want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on, that you have your kid with you, that it's okay for them to be with you, that you have a letter covering yourself so that if you're stopped at the border or stopped by the police or something, they don't think that you're just taking this kid away from their parent. You want to make sure that you're covered by insurance if you're got somebody with you, and you know what happens at home if something happens at home or on the road, and that you've got the approval of the company. So just establishing boundaries is probably the last piece. So just make sure that you've got all of those things in place, and you're going to have an awesome time bonding with your family on vacation. So anyway, it's fun to do. If you got a chance to take them on March break, go ahead and do that, but just make sure you've gone through the proper channels. All right, my friends, talk to you later.